All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 8th episode of AppSource Central. Here we discuss Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central apps on AppSource and talk to the ISVs behind those apps. Today, I have a guest from Denmark, the home country of our product, as I think it's safe to say that. And I'm pleased to have Estefanía Martins Vidal, aka Stefi, from Dynaway today. Stefi, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
No worries, pleasure having you. Can you please introduce yourself and who is Stefi, and then we'll take it from there.
Yes, thank you. So I'm Stefi. I'm the partner manager here at Dynaway, and I actually handle all our BC partners and as well now our FNO or FNSCS partners.
Oh, fantastic. Can you give us a bit of a background of Dynaway? Who is Dynaway? What they focus on? I think anyone listens has a good understanding of what they focus on, but let's start with the history of Dynaway.
Yes, thank you for asking that. It's actually really interesting. So Dynaway has always done asset management software since the year 2000. So 25 years of only focusing on asset management. And in 2018, Microsoft bought Dynaway's IP to integrate it into FNO, into what today is asset management in Microsoft, the standard version, that is Dynaway. So we have a very tight collaboration, obviously, with Microsoft that pivoted in 2018 with the purchase of that IP. And what we continued doing since 2018 is on one side of the company, keep developing add-ons for asset management module in FNO. So for cases that need more complexity or more advanced modules. So we still create that. And then the other side of the company or the other vertical is recreating the success that we had with FNO, but for Business Central. So we have Dynaway Enterprise Asset Management for Business Central.
Wow. What a history. So what today we know as Microsoft Asset Management, it's actually Dynaway solution, right? That's how it's born.
Correct.
And it's not the first time Microsoft acquires a Dynaway solution, I guess. There is a history as well. If I look at, you can correct me if I'm wrong. In 2000, where are my notes? The shop floor control that Microsoft acquires from Dynaway and makes it
Yes.
accept the standard back in the day. So it's not the first time that
It's not the
Microsoft actually
first time.
buys.
Yes. And I forgot to mention that is because the asset management software that we've been doing for 25 years has always been for the D365. So I
Right.
mean, it just makes sense that we've only and always been in this ecosystem developing.
Yeah, great. And
management.
when did the Business Central or even the Vision days, when did that start?
Dynaway for Business Central, I think like after 2018, we realized, okay, we have all this expertise in regards of the technology, how to develop, right, this software for Microsoft and all the expertise that you need to know. One is to go inside an enterprise asset management system. So we started developing for BC in 2018, and I think in 2022, we went to market with the product.
Okay, so Dynaway EAM for Business Central was actually born in Business Central era. So there is no history of Navision. So it was born in Navision, Business Central era. Okay.
Correct.
Wow.
And it's only available for cloud. So we don't do a Dynaway BC on-prem or for on-prem. We do not want any technology legacy.
Yeah.
So only the newer part, because as what you say, it was born already on Business Central.
Okay. Wow, great. And where did this asset management roots are coming from? So how Dynaway became such an expert of this domain? So where are the roots are coming from?
Yeah, now we go way back in time where
Yeah.
Dynaway was called the THY technology, something like that. Now this is way before me.
Okay.
Probably I was a baby when all of this happened, so take this with a grain of salt. But
Sure.
it was called, so in Danish it's like two technologies, and it was very not an international name, but it was born in the northern part of Denmark, and it's a very industrialized area. So there's a lot of industry. There's a lot of manufacturing and production industry in this area of Denmark. So I think it comes from just there.
Okay.
Where in the geography was it born?
All right. So the region itself has an influence of Dynaway's roadmap, let's say, how it evolves into this domain of asset management. All right, that's fantastic. Do you? So we obviously focus on Business Central practice because that's what we try to focus on here. And you said it's 2018, which is great. So it also straight away it was available in. It's built for AppSource as well, right? So
Yes.
it also was born in AppSource. Can you give us a bit of a overview of what do you think about AppSource and the journey? Because you guys been there for like 7 years now. How is it going with AppSource so far? Do you get a lot of upsides from AppSource? Does it generate lots of leads for you? What do you think of AppSource in
Definitely. I
overall?
would say it's our main gen lead indicator and engine. AppSource. We get everything from there. It is like our I don't know, central source of truth in a way.
Okay.
So we are big fans.
Great. Okay. So does it help you to expand outside of your region, or I mean, anyone can go and look at your website. There's the partners page there that you can see almost all continents there. That you have partners all around the world. Does AppSource have a big role in it for you to scale up globally?
Yes. I think like the word there that you're looking for is like scale up in a very
Yeah.
leveraging technology as well. I mean, so little human touch, and that is positive in a way that we can automate. Let's say from someone clicking to them being users of Dynaway, all of that is automated, and isn't that the dream, right? To
Yeah.
be able to leverage technology and use all of this for a user to just say, okay, I have Dynaway installed in Business Central, and it was like 5 clicks.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's great. So, to scale up the adoption should be relatively easy, right? So, I want to talk about a bit of onboarding and the implementation process. Granted,
Mhm.
Dynaway lives and breathes and enterprise asset management and subject matter experts, granted, but you can't obviously expect from all the other implementation partners to be in the same level, and perhaps they might need your inclusion
Mhm.
in the implementations. So how that
Mhm.
implementation process works? Does it often requires for you to be part of that implementation processes, and does it become as a challenge in terms of the scaling as well?
I wouldn't say it becomes a challenge. It just really depends on the partner, to be honest. I
Mm-hmm.
think we have been really good at developing a very intuitive material for a partner to be able to have the documentation available and do an implementation, or, we have some trainings in order to do that. But usually what will happen is that Dynaway will do the first implementation, and it is a very fast implementation. We understand that we're a small part of a bigger project, right?
Mm.
Usually it is like a Business Central implementation, and we will come at a phase 2 or 3.
Right.
So we will do the implementation, and our partner will shadow that implementation. It doesn't take very long. What I would say take the longest, and it is because it is something that the end customer needs to do, is adding some logic to certain things. So we have something called the asset tree. So how do you want the asset tree,
Yeah.
the hierarchy to work? Is it per location? Is it per assets and then subcomponents? What is that? And usually that takes a bit longer from the customer side to figure that out. So I would say like actually that's like what is the most, and we say 4 to 6 weeks on that step, but all in all is very, very, I mean, we're talking hours, so it's very
Okay.
fast to implement.
Fair enough. Well, I can a bit relate to that because we've been planning this for a while, and I've been studying Dynaway and watching the videos, going through the documentations, and I'm ready to be part of an implementation, I guess. So I feel I'm not super well equipped, obviously, to implement it, but I have a good idea of how it might work or how it can configure. But it's obviously a beast
Wonderful.
on its own. But the
Yes.
onboarding is something that seems quite relatively
Yes.
straightforward, or at least something that's well taught. Um, okay, that's great. So let's talk about AppSource apps a little bit, and obviously we're gonna put EAM itself under the spotlight, but there's a few apps can go on top of it. So there are other layers to it, and that kind of ties into the licensing and the pricing aspect to it as well. So if you don't mind, I'm just gonna go through the AppSource apps a little bit. So the first one we see, obviously, that's the Dynaway EAM, that's the flagship product. And then we have Dynaway Forms. Would you like to say a couple of words in each app, or how? You happy for me to
If
just
you
carry
mention
on?
all
Yeah.
of them, because like Dynaway Enterprise Asset Management, the EAM,
Yeah.
that's the main app, right? That you will have to. And then we have work orders, forms, analytics, that is Power BI. We have a couple of modules. So we have like Safe Work module, we have Signature module, and we
Correct.
have um,
Toolcrip.
Toolcrip. Yes, thank you very
Yep.
much.
No
Module
worries.
on top of it. So yes.
I
So
told you
it
I'm
seems
ready for an implementation.
yeah, see? That's wonderful to hear.
Yeah.
Yes.
So from what I see in this app, so first of all, let me start from here. So Dynaway EAM pricing, it has a free tier, right?
Yes.
So an app or a solution as comprehensive as this, it's not something we often see, a free tier, right? And the free tier, it's not really like a very light. It seems like there's quite a bit of functionality in there as well.
Yes.
Then on top of it, there are essential and there's premium, I guess. I hope I'm getting the names right, but there's like
Yes,
3
you're getting
tiers.
it right. Essential, premium,
Okay,
and light user.
premium
Yes.
and the light user.
Yes.
So what can you talk me through this idea of having a free tier? Because that's
Yes.
not something we often see in the world of AppSource and Business Central apps.
I think the idea behind this was to overcome a barrier that there's no company too small to need asset management. So when you have, or you play in an industry that is heavy on assets, so your profitability comes from your assets being active, you will have this need. It's not like,
Yeah.
if or not need. You have the need, but it's more, what are you doing today about it? So we wanted to, break a little bit that paradigm of, I'm too small to need asset management. Everyone does. So we offer this tier for free. And the only limitation, or one of the only limitations, is up to 125 assets and 2 users. So kind of enough to get started, to see, okay, how would this work? How can my workflows work with the system and scale with the company? So we understand as well that usually asset management is seen as a cost driver rather than a profit driver, unfortunately. So also to show them the value that really it is when you use a system like this, right? And just whenever they're mature enough to go to the next step, Dynaway is there for them. So having that, okay, if you think you're small enough, fair enough, use the free one. It's for free. What is not to like?
Yeah. And
then you yourself will see the value that there is in it.
That's great explanation. And something you said that it kind of really caught my attention. There is no company too small to use the enterprise asset management, because there is an element of, let's say, of being an enterprise asset management in an SMB market product, right? And that might itself sound like a conflict, right? Because this is an enterprise, asset-heavy businesses kind of a thing. But Business Central is positioned more on the SMP. Does it kind of targets this idea of conflict, and not targets, but challenges this idea as a conflict as well, right?
Completely correct. Like you have like such a good point there that I actually forgot to mention that, yes, Business Central is for the SME market, so we need to cater as well those companies. But yes, trying to make these two opposites coexist, that there's nothing that's too small for needing asset management. Yes, so free starter license.
Yep. Great point. So if you look at the apps, as you mentioned, there's a few. So there's a free tier, and then when you jump into the essentials, the difference in the pricing, the difference in the features that it comes with, is actually the scheduling board. And with the scheduling board, you can do quite a few things, to my understanding, and also the limitation of the assets as well, right? As you just mentioned, the number of assets you can.
There's no limitation of assets when you move into essentials and premium.
Yes.
Essential, the main difference is that it won't have the integration with manufacturing module, or
Okay.
it won't have maintenance invoicing. So I would say
Right.
those are the two main differences with the premium tier. And then the
Yes.
light user is for technicians. So it's people that will not have to create data in Business Central or Dynaway, so no
Yeah.
creating assets and so on, but technicians that need to execute the work.
Granted. The limitation I was talking about is in the free tier. So there's a limitation in the free tier, right?
Yes,
But
perfect,
when you
correct.
jump onto the essentials, there is no limitation of that in the essentials anymore.
Absolutely correct.
And in terms of the features on top of the free tier, when you jump onto the essentials, you get the scheduling board too, which
Yes.
when you look at the videos, it's just super, what's the word? User friendly, drag and drop scheduling kind of a thing, which is something we're not very used to in Business Central, but ISVs often build similar solutions
Yes.
because it's graphical and it's always easier to use,
Yes.
and it's
Yes.
great. And also there's something in terms of, as you mentioned, the light user, right? So this light user is, to my understanding, it's built for people on the field. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct. Correct.
And that marries well with team member license as well, Business Central team member license.
Correct.
And there is a documentation on your website how to actually leverage this combination in terms of the roles. So
Yes.
I really like that the column was on, there's a list of
Yes.
what do you want to do in the system, right? It says that, and next to it, it says, okay, I want to create a work order or whatever. And then next to it, you say, okay, then you need this permission set and blah, blah. So the documentation is there really, really good in terms of how you set up this combination of light user in Dynaway plus the team member license in Business Central. And where does Power App sits in within this combination? Does it also goes well with the people on the field? Where do you see Power Apps in this picture?
Yes, well, Power Apps, it would be on the work execution part. So being able to also use our Dynaway Power App, enterprise asset management for people in the field to develop their work. So create work orders, complete them, the whole thing. Yes. So we see it there for sure.
Yeah, great. Because people on the field, it's mostly you expect them to use like iPads kind of a thing, right? An iPad or a mobile, and Power Apps work quite well in those kind of devices. And
Yes.
perhaps it's a really good combination for all of those, and Power Apps is a really good solution for the people on the field.
Yeah, but also to create maintenance requests. So we have this Power App, there's called maintenance requests, where you can take a picture and then upload it and say, I just saw that this is broken. And then you will create, someone needs to come and fix it, right? So being able to also have like that iPad or that iPhone or whatever, or a phone that anyone is just walking on the floor, being able to just say, I saw this, look at the picture, someone please come fix it, and it will, create a work order, and then there's some approval flows depending on the company.
Wow, great. Okay, we already dive into a bit of EAM, so let's take it further. Let me put this comment and then hand it over to you. So when I look at the app, it seems like a proper Business Central app. And what do I mean by that is it looks seamlessly works with the standard functionalities. So you have, for example, maintenance availability. It's identical with the item availability, or whatever you do in work order plans. It flows into planning worksheet. From there on, it goes to requisition worksheet. And this all marries very well works very well with the standard item configuration, let's say. And
Yes.
so what do you have any comment on this? And plus the X factors would be the asset tree and the scheduling board. They don't look anything like Business Central, granted, but they are definitely, I want to say, like an X factor. So what are your comments in terms of being like a really proper Business Central app and then adding asset tree and scheduling board on top of that?
So I think like as a consultant or like a consultant's worst nightmare is customization. That word, it's like scary, and I get it. So we wanted to not deviate from that, right? And say all of this is standard functionality, and we have so much functionality, but it plays very well to Business Central because Dynaway only exists in Business Central. It cannot exist outside of Business Central. So I mean, it was born in it, so it will have its traits. Also, Christoph, our product owner for EAM Dynaway Business Central, he is a Microsoft MVP. So he is very true and through with everything that Microsoft says in terms of technology, in terms of looks, in terms of absolutely everything. So it's such an honor and a wonderful thing that we have an MVP that is our product owner for this. So that is why you can see and sense that Dynaway is Business Central, because it is. It cannot exist as a standalone. That's one thing. Then you mentioned asset tree and scheduling board. Asset tree, I don't really have an explanation why it looks the way it looks. We are working to polish it, add more functionality to it in this quarter, actually, in our roadmap, Q3, Q2, Q3. But the scheduling board, it is because we leverage technology partners. We believe in this whole partner ecosystem, and there's no need to reinvent the wheel if there's someone that does it better. So for our scheduling board, we leverage Netronics for it, and it's integrated into Dynaway. So maybe that's why it looks, and I'm quoting, looks a little bit different, but it is part of Dynaway. It's nothing that you will jump and suddenly you're jumping into something that isn't Netronics, and you will see the difference. You don't really see the difference when you're using our scheduling board, aside from maybe some color layout, right?
Sure. I didn't highlight asset tree, for example, to criticize it, right? It just looked like doesn't look Business Central at all. But if you look at I think it's one of the webinars of Christoph Krzysztof's, might be saying his name wrong. He said, Christoph, okay, one of the webinars, he said that this is the most used or most liked page of actually enterprise asset management, because if you look at its capabilities, it's just phenomenal, the number of things you can do, and it's super configurable as well. And I think he mentioned that you can, even though it's hard to explain without seeing the page, to be honest, and he said like it can cater for hundreds of thousands of assets in there. So it's actually quite powerful, and you can filter them out, and there's like parent and child relation, and just going through the assets, you can create a work order request and so on.
Yeah. There's so much functionality from the asset tree. And I would say like it is let's say the core of Dynaway. Like everyone should start, depending on your role, right? A technician won't really start in the asset tree, but it gives such a good overview of what you have, of the locations, of is there a work order in this asset, right? As a manager, to be able to have that overview is very powerful. Talking about the asset tree. And of course, the scheduling board, the resource planning board, what we want to call it, because you can look at it from a resource point of view or a work order point of view, right? But planning, it is so basic for enterprise asset management. Like if you cannot plan ahead, then what are you doing, right? Like then it's going to be chaos down at the floor. So I would say those three are right there, the most used features.
Okay, great. I tend to ask this question in each episode, and I'm going to do that as well in this one. So there is quite a few enterprise asset management apps on AppSource. What would you think Dynaway Enterprise Asset Management does differently than others, or what is the main strengths comparing to the other EAMs of Dynaway EAM?
I would say there's two, and one of them, I'm saying it now for anyone that is listening, don't sue me because I'm not sure. But technologically speaking, and this is maybe we just don't know anyone else out there, but as far as we understand and we see, we are the only ones that are truly embedded and integrated in Business Central. So we're not built on top of any module. We're built inside Business Central. So we're not leveraging just the service module. We're not leveraging just whatever else, right? It is truly in the core of Business Central. So technologically speaking, as far as we know in the market, we are the only player that has been able to achieve that. I could be wrong. It could be someone new that we just don't know from that technology point of view. And then the other thing is 25 years of asset management. Dynaway is so rich in features, of what you can do. Sometimes I think, like, is it too much for the SME market? Could be, because then we have customers that can get overwhelmed, right? With, but I want to do the, and then, then it's like, it's too much for what we want to do. So I like to really scope and say, start very little. There's no added prices for more functionality or not. Just scope your workflows and use it, and then you will scale and evolve with the system.
Absolutely, and there's free tier to do that, to exactly do that as well.
Correct.
Yep, that's a really good explanation. I mean, that alone, it's a really powerful thing to be a seamless or natural Business Central app or Business Central solution itself. It's quite powerful. I want to say something quick about this analytics app. So there's a Power BI app, right? It says free, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, it says free. So does it? People are able to use it in the free tier as well, the analytics app. How
Yes.
does? Yeah, okay. There was. I'll talk about this later on, but so there is this podcast you guys have, Dynaway Dialogues, and we will talk about it in a minute. But in there, you speak with Dynaway customers or the experts of the industry. So one of the Dynaway customers had mentioned actually one of the analytics that really was quite eye-opening for me. And I will use it as a segue to ask your favorite analytics. So he said, not only we see the downtime, so you can see the details of the downtime, but actually he was mentioning the downtime, he can actually get the analytics of downtime they actually prevented. Right, so that was kind of puts a perspective for me, so someone like a beginner, like seeing that from that aspect was quite eye-opening for me. So what would be your favorite analytics in Dynaway?
Favorite analytics in Dynaway? I
Yeah,
think that is such a good question, and it just really depends on the industry that we're talking to, right?
sure.
Different industries will have different requirements that they're looking at, and even not just the industry, but like who am I talking to in the organization? Am I talking to the asset manager, maintenance manager, or am I talking to the CFO? Because those analytics can go both ways, right? So you can look at it from an economic point of view or like a operations point of view. And
Right.
that's actually what I would say like the comprehensiveness of it, that you can use it for so much, and there's so much power in data that you can use it for operations or for just economical financial exercises.
Okay, fair enough, we already mentioned a bit about Dynaway Dialogues, and there's also an event called Dynaway Connect, right? So you guys very well engage with the community. And would you like to say a few words about how Dynaway, what are the other tools or
Yeah.
the Dynaway connects with the
Well,
community?
Dynaway Connect was born from our desire to not even position Dynaway as a product at all. It was born from the other spectrum, or the other side of the spectrum, which is we want to facilitate networking in this community. Make it like put it on the light spot, having people share best practices inside asset maintenance. So just not looking really at the technology that we offer, but just having this ecosystem just inside asset management. I think, if I'm not wrong, it also was born from the need for it. There's not really any other conference really focusing at this level just on asset management. So we wanted to create a network.
It's quite niche as well, right? So it's not only the enterprise asset management users, but also Dynaway users in
Yeah,
Dynamics space. So I can
exactly. In
see
dynamics.
the value of people. I mean, if you put customers together, they're using the same application, they might say, hey, how do you fix this problem? Right? And then they can come up with a solution, or, hey, we actually do this and we use this system like this. So it might be a business process optimization when they talk, the outcome can be, or something can be done in the system differently, so usage of the application. So actually bringing people together, it brings a different, it enables growth within the,
Yes.
let's say, Dynaway community, I think, and that it's a brilliant idea. And
Mhm.
all right, in terms of your, I want to talk about future, right? There is ideas page in your website that people can go and put ideas, and there is visibility of the conversion of that ideas in terms of the roadmap. So I really like that, like public, that people can see what's happening in Dynaway. What else is happening in Dynaway? Like, if you're looking ahead, what are the exciting things waiting for Dynaway users or partners?
So I will have to say that again, this is a big shout out to Christoph, our product owner, because 90% of our feature development comes from our customers' feedback, customer and partners. So he is absolutely brilliant at hearing what the market has to say and just developing it, coming out with it. I mean, we develop at such a speed that sometimes I feel it's a bit overwhelming because I can't transmit all that we're doing for every customer. But really, he listens to it, and if it makes sense to add it, he's like, yeah, sure. So there's not this huge process of having this, approval, and yes, we'll do it in 2 years. No. If he sees that, okay, this makes sense, and if we're not listening to our customers, then we don't have a product for our customers. So that idea that he has and that way of working. So that's Christoph. All in all, is what you say. That's what we have. That in our website, and again, 90% has been influenced and as by our partners and customers.
Wow.
What do I see in the future? It is obviously Copilot. Actually, we were in the state at the Directions in the US in Vegas earlier this year as the ISV showcasing Copilot in our product for Microsoft. And that is Radoslaw, also one of the main developers of Dynaway. He is such a passionate for this. He has so much interest for it. And so we are very lucky that we're collaborating with Microsoft on it, and we are adding it in our product. So I would say that is the future.
Fantastic. And I think it's already in your roadmap. I think next quarter, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, we already have it, if I'm not wrong. And now I'm entering out a little bit into technicalities, but when we're implementing, right, like how, give me a list of asset codes that would match my assets or something like that. And then using Copilot for that part of the integration and creation of...
So some natural language processing, right? So rather than going and clicking places, users will be able to just tell the system in a natural language and get the output just by interacting in that way. That's great. It's a trend we see all over the ERP, and Dynaway is not catching up, but Dynaway is also leveraging that technology. Hearing that is great. Stefi, do you have anything to add in terms of enterprise asset management? Because I think I might have jumped into the closing notes too early, and I don't want to do injustice. Because is there any enterprise asset management features that you want to talk that you think that we kind of skip, like any important features that you want to talk about?
It's like, so I think it was Gartner who a couple of years ago or last year, they came out with this report saying that your asset management system should be integrated in your ERP, and that is the future, because if not, you will have big problems moving forward. So that was something that we maybe should reuse again. Like, we talked a lot with partners and customers about this. And maybe lost momentum, I don't know, but I think it is so important that when we talk asset management, because it's integrated in an ERP system, that we also understand what happens when you're using it in an ERP system. So being able to create purchase orders from a work order, that is like very big. That saves so much time and money. Like, it's insane. Such a small process that is clicking in 2 places in Business Central. So like really understanding, like, okay, this is inside of an ERP is like mind blowing. And also as well, being able to look at the stock, take directly from the stock, right? So you have it reflected in the system, like, oh, now I have a -1 item in the warehousing model or stock model, whatever it is, because I'm using it for this work order, right? Also, like, reserving it as well, being able to have that functionality. I mean, it is really the small things that have such a huge impact. No one needs to double check the data. No one has to do data reconciliation. It is all in the same place. And also, if you're looking at the ledger entries, right? Like, okay, what is the financial impact that this operation is causing me? So yeah, I think that is like the bigger picture of it.
Yeah, great answer. Honestly, it's that there is what you call from assets. There is something called connected ledger entries that you can see all the ledger entries that connected to that assets. And what you say is it's brilliant because it's something that you really understand the problem perhaps when you're working silos, but when you're in Business Central, it seems so natural, so you don't really think about it, right? It's already happens within ERP, and you don't really think about it. But if you had like two different systems, when you try to make them work, like, oh, my stock is looking this, and in Business Central it looks different, and how to consolidate and blah blah, that might be a huge problem and hurt your business as well. So I completely understand your point, and that's a really good point.
Not to say that the bigger, asset management systems that are standalone systems, they have their, set of features and whys they are standalone, right? But if you can really see why an ERP system wouldn't have an asset management if you are an asset intensive company, it's just mind blowing. So it's also with standalones, it's like integrations. Who's maintaining those integrations, right? Who's updating those integrations? Who's making sure that the data is correct in both systems? There's like a lot of hidden costs and time, not just cost, but just time, that comes with having two different systems that need to talk to each other. So if we can have the privilege of having everything in one, especially for the SME market, leverage it.
Absolutely. No, that's a great message. And I always advocate solutions within Business Central, to be perfectly honest, in my professional life as well. As long as there's a solution in BC and it makes sense for the case, I always favor that, because as you said, there is ongoing cost, and it's something we can control better, and the user adoption will be much more easier because they already use Business Central, so it feels more natural to them as well. And going into the two different systems, also another burden using different systems. All right, that's a pretty great point. Thank you very much for this. I think this is my shortest episode because I skipped the technical parts and a few bits, not to put you in a difficult position. I know you're not a technical person.
No. I can say it here forever, but I'm not a technical person. If you want to know technicalities about Dynaway, we have fantastic documentation and videos, or contact our product owner. He's going to be happy to answer.
Absolutely. And there's, maybe I didn't do enough justice talking about your documentation. Your documentation is quite extensive, so anyone get to know more about Dynaway features, there's videos, there are like longer videos for certain functionalities within EAM. There are webinars give you overview of what Dynaway EAM is, and there's documentation on how-tos and guides and so on. And there's a bit of technical documentation there as well in terms of the APIs exposed, for example. So even that is public, that you can go and have a look. And so there's extensive amount of documentation. If you're curious, you can have a look. And Stefi, thank you very much for joining. If anyone wants to contact you or Dynaway, what is the best way?
Just through, help@dynaway.com. And we all get it, and we're actually quite fast at answering. So just there, or check me out on LinkedIn as well.
All right, just like I did, right? Out of nowhere, I send you a message.
Yes.
I'm just out of nowhere, I send you a message because it's impossible not to notice Dynaway in Dynamics Word. And to be honest, for me, this was a real privilege to make this episode with you. It's not only this 35-40 minutes, to be honest, it's the weeks built to this. As you see, I'm not a professional podcaster. Sometimes I can't find the right words or whatever. But what happened is I really have a good understanding of Dynaway features, and professionally it helps me a lot. It's really at great value, and hopefully for the listeners as well, we were able to explain who Dynaway is, what Dynaway EAM looks like, and hopefully there was some value listening to this episode. If I say, what is your closing notes for this episode, what would it be, Stefi?
It would be, first of all, to thank you for doing this series, because of like what we discussed in the very beginning. It was like companies get drowned in this world of ISVs. There's so many ISVs that it's difficult to have like an overview. AppSource is fantastic, but like everything is like a double, sided paper or coin or sword. Then you have like, who has the time and resources to really know everything? So the job that you're doing to put everything in buckets is fantastic to have it out there. So thank you. That would be one of my first ones.
My absolute pleasure. Well, as you said, there's And there's so many. It's like more than 7,000 apps now, and it just growing faster, faster and faster. It's very difficult to keep up.
Exactly.
So I was, from my end, for me, the closing, I was very pleased to meet Dynaway. Let me put it that way, as a closing note.
So happy. I'm so happy about that. And I really hope that this will help with the partners and companies that have verticals. So they're verticalizing to put like key ISVs in each vertical, because that's the whole thing that Microsoft wants, right? Like they want to be the best ERP, but they cannot be the best ERP for every niche industry without leveraging technology partners. And that's actually one of the biggest winning arguments I've noticed that there is when I go with a partner to a customer and we explain it like that. We explain this is Business Central, this is Microsoft, but they leverage in partners like Dynaway in order to cater to your specific industry. It is a winning argument, seriously, for all customers because they suddenly get it. So you being able to
100%.
put all that information of all the ISVs and make it relevant for the companies to say, oh, we verticalize in manufacturing and production. Who's out there that can help us? I'm finding this information online that you're putting. So I think it's fantastic.
That's absolutely a winner, and I personally leveraged that fact and the strength of ISVs in my professional career as well. And when I say we have an AppSource, and I don't think there's any other product that has many vertical solutions. So we are kind of spoiled by all the apps that we have in AppSource, to be honest, and that's a winning argument against any potential customers that I have experience of at firsthand, and that's a really, really good point again, Stefi. Thank you very much. Stefi, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your support and being part of this journey. And hopefully in the future we'll collaborate again. Maybe a podcast or maybe another way.
Maybe.
Because I told you I'm ready for implementations, I'm
maybe
so
the next
much
podcast should be how did my first Dynaway implementation go?
There you go. Different series.
Yes, different series.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. It's been an absolute pleasure having you, Stefi. Thank you very much for your time. And thanks everyone for tuning in, for listening this episode. Hope you enjoyed listening this, and talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.